What would you say those fundamentals are?
Of what part of it?
Of like understanding basic fundamentals to establish those constructive forms.
Get a block of wood and, like a 2x2 piece of wood, or even if you don't have a 2x2, a 1x1. And ideally, if you're working off of a square edge, lay a face out on it. I mean, this is real simple because you got a nose established. So you can lay a brow line, and you can call this your nose here. And then you've got a set of lips here. So you can take that, even if all you've got's a knife, and you can go in there and you can start to establish that nose line, and then that bridge back into those eyes.
And just practice.
And practice. Just go make you a bunch of faces, And, I mean, pretty quickly you can get start establishing things. Even if all you got's a knife and a pine 2x4. It's a lot of people, I don't have this or don't have that. Well, you've got something. If you're at all into this and interested in this, you've got some stuff around. You've got a knife, and hopefully you can sharpen it. And if all you have is a straight knife, you can do almost everything I'm doing, other than the texture stuff, with a straight knife. Now, you're not going to do it as fast as I'm going to do it with chisels, because I can use more muscle and more power on it. But you can do all the same things I'm doing here. I mean, if you don't have the chisels I have and things, that shouldn't keep you from trying this, because you can do all this basically with just a knife. You're not going to do it as fast.
It's not about the speed.
No, it's not about the speed. I do a lot of carvings at times, so for me it gets to be about the speed a little bit. And this is easier on my hands than it is doing it just with a knife, which is why I do it this way. Yeah, it's not about the speed. Chisels are nice. I appreciate having them. But it's not a reason not to carve if you don't have them.
No excuses.
Yeah, I mean, I carved for years with a pocket knife when I was a kid. That's all I had. I had to about beg that because my mom was always afraid I was going to cut my fingers off. And as I said earlier, I found an old sharpening stone and my dad had this old chicken house. He'd moved to the property long before I came along, and had set up a little workshop in there. It had a concrete floor and things. I mean, it wasn't, real primitive, but, and, I mean, that's where I hung out as a kid. I was always out there. He had long since kind of abandoned it, and, there was a drill press in there. There was electricity, a couple of lights, and a bench with a vise, and a drill press, and some other stuff, and
a couple $100 at Harbor Freight, and
yeah, and there wasn't, then there were no Harbor Freights. There was nothing when I was growing up. I mean, there was nothing. The hardware store, that's what there was. It wasn't like now. People have no idea how good they have it now. I mean, you can, even if it's some, cheap stuff from Harbor Freight, at least you can get something. Shoot, back then you couldn't get anything. If the local hardware store didn't have it, it didn't exist as far as you were concerned, basically. And just now I think about it, and it's, I can have anything I want in a couple days. If I want to pay enough, I can have it in a day. It's really crazy. But
it's the world we live in.
Yeah, it's the world we live in.
Now you're establishing kind of the...
Yeah, I'm establishing
bridge.
That brow line a little more, the bridge of the nose. And this is it's one of those special tools not everybody has, but it's kind of cool because it's a V, but it's fluted.
Oh.
So it's great for cutting mustaches into mouths, which I'm going to use it for here in a little bit. But it's that special tool, you use every so often, and you put it back in the tool roll, and that's it. It doesn't have a big job that it does and anything, but it really is nice to have. And again, I can get in there with a knife and do this, but it's just nice to be able to grab that tool and go in there and make that nice and clean, and boom, got it. Okay. So now what we're going to do is go in and kind of establish the upper part of the eye. There are two ways of doing this. I'm doing this with a V. You could do it with a gouge coming in too. This side's real easy, unless you're totally ambidextrous. The other side's not as easy.
So you're leaving enough wood in there to carve the eyeball as well.
Yes, on this one I am. Yeah, I'm not doing a cutout eye on this. I use the cutout eye a lot. It's fast. On the smaller carvings, I think it's a good look. On the larger carvings, I don't think it's a good look. Because people don't want to pay for them, in a sense. I mean, the carving gets expensive the more detail you put in it. And fortunately, if you're doing like winter stuff, like Santa's, you have that advantage. It's winter, so they're probably wearing mittens because it's cold out. And even Santa doesn't want cold fingers. So, you can kind of cheat things a little bit. But if you don't know what you're doing on faces, that's where you'll really get in trouble, because you won't leave wood where you need it. And once you cut it off, can't put it back on. It's not like hair, it doesn't grow back. So what I'm doing right now is I'm kind of establishing that cheek line and kind of establishing where my eye is going to be up there. That just kind of gets things set for me a little bit. Sometimes I carve the top of the face first, sometimes I carve the bottom of the face. I don't really think it matters which way you're going here. It's all kind of delicate work, so you don't want to get carried away hacking a bunch of wood out real fast, or pushing on things too hard. And getting that mustache to cheek line there established a little bit. Again, that nose is sticking out there. You don't want to hit it at 20 miles an hour with your chisel and snap it off. So you just kind of want to be gentle, kind of working your way up into this. those chips will always just kind of get in there and just kind of lay in there right in your way. Okay. And I usually go ahead and kind of lay out my eyes. Yeah, if I was really bold, I guess I'd just cut them in, but I don't see any point in being stupid. You be a little bit of a chicken. Lay stuff out and kind of get it to where you want it.
Don't be a loose cannon.
Yeah. There's no point in making yourself more work. You know, making a mistake somewhere along there and going, I wish I would have done that. But I try to establish a little bit of an eyelid there on that outer edge. You can't really once you get up in here far, but on the outer side you can get a little bit of an indication there. This deep brow line that I have on this carving to make all this work in this C shape, I'm kind of limited to what I can do.
It kind of gets in the way of itself.
Yes, it does. It gets in the way of itself. So what I do is I take that tool and I cut down past where the eye's going to be there. You can see I kind of come out up against the bridge of the nose. That gives me an extra line in there that I can use to my advantage on defining the eye. Kind of gives me another crook and cranny on the face, you know. You just want to be careful because those tools have a lot of pressure when you're wedging them down in a place like that. You can make bad things happen in your wood. So now we got that top of that eye kind of set. I can kind of get in here with a V tool. Come around here carefully. Up to that stop line. And this just is a way of establishing this. And then I can go in with this guy. Kind of work that line down just a little bit. Main thing you just want to remember is, especially around like the eyes and the mouth, the nose, nice clean lines. And don't become myopic and do everything on one side, nothing on the other. You'll get a face that's out of whack. You want to work yourself back and forth. It's kind of like drawing, it's kind of like portraiture. You don't want to get concentrating too much on one part of the face. Bad things can happen. And a lot of times, if you already got that tool in your hand, you might as well use it. So if you're cutting one side, go ahead and cut the other side at the same time. While that tool's there. It's kind of like watercolor. You'll try to overwork it. Don't do that. There's a point where it's done. Let it be done. If you overwork it, you're just going to regret it. What I'm doing right now is just getting good definition on that eye. Nice clean cut. No fuzzies, no furries in there. And so kind of want to get that eye smoothed out. And then to have that the way I want it, I'll actually go back with a skew and touch things up, make my corners a little deeper and just get things a little more dramatic.